to wrapping up our editing account details user story, which is pretty exciting. But we need to set the name, username, email, and password with the updated data, okay? So the reason why we need to do that is we need to, let's just show the use case, okay? So I changed my name here to test1, okay? I change it, it updates here, which is nice, but my name is still Callie Stoscup here, and then my avatar still says C Stoscup. And that's not what I want. Now, my first guess would be like, okay, am I not sending the data to the back end? Is something not happening? But if I refresh the page, test1 loads and T1 loads, okay? So it's not an issue with my back end, it's an issue with how I'm passing data on the front end, okay? So what I need to do is I need to create, all right, a state for my data, and then I need to pass the set state portion of that to my account details, so that way I can update my data when the data changes, okay? So I'm going to rename this loader data, and then I'm going to say const data, comma, set data equals use state loader data. Then I need to import use state from React. Awesome. All right, so now I need to go ahead and pass set data into each of my user details rows, which you can see it's going to be mad at me, but that is okay. I'm going to go ahead and get the type by hovering over that set data to get the type, and then I'm going to head to my row, and I'm going to add set data as one of my props. Then I'm going to add set data here. We still have an error because it can't find data, so I need to make sure here that I export my type so I can import it into this component. All right, then the final piece of this puzzle is that I need to set data response.data here. So when I get the data back, okay, I'm going to set the data. All right, so I'm going to open up my console and I'm going to check this out. All right, refresh the page. Let's go ahead and do test2, check. Okay, so as you can see, the response comes back and it updates my profile data. Unfortunately though, I forgot to change my response because I don't want the password or necessarily the ID coming back. So I'm gonna go ahead and head to my auth service so I can change that, okay? I want the shape of my data to stay the same, and it's supposed to just be email, name, and username, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say const updated user here, and then I'm going to return an object where name is updated user.name, and then I'm going to say email is updated user.email, and then username is updated user.nope username. Okay, so now I'm going to try this again. All right. Profile data is just email, name, and username. Let's change this. I want to go through and check. All right, perfect. Test 3 came up and test 3 came up here. So that's good. We want to check the other fields too to make sure nothing is buggy. So I'm going to change my email to test3@gmail.com. Check. All right, my profile data successfully changed. Then I'm going to change my username to test3, and I'm going to update it, and my profile data changed. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to refresh my page to make sure everything looks okay. And unfortunately, it does not. Okay? So, an error popped up when I refreshed my page. So we're going to need to troubleshoot a little bit. So it's saying it cannot read properties of null reading email in auth service.get profile data. So let's go ahead and scroll down to get profile data. All right. So it's using a username, okay, which I just edited, and it's going to go look up the data based on the username. Okay. So now I'm going to actually go back a step to the auth controller to figure out where the username is coming from. And this is my issue. The username is actually coming from the auth guard. Okay. So this is where it's getting the token. All right. So let's go ahead and see where it's getting its username from. When we create our token, we're passing in the username and user ID, okay, into the payload, which then creates the token. All right. When it goes through the auth guard, we are then extracting the username from the payload to use it. Okay. The token gets created though when we log in or when we create an account. So my username was cstosecup when I created my account. So that is what got saved in the token. So it is trying to look up with cstosecup here, and it cannot find data on cstosecup. So there's a few ways we could handle this. The first would be, well, there's not a few ways, but there's a few things that we could do to handle this. The first would be we should look into whether or not we even want to pass the username into the create an account payload or create access token payload, okay? Because if I change my username here, it's gonna have to wait until I log in or again in order to update that token's username, okay? The second option, or the second thing to consider, not really two different options, they're one of the same, okay, is if I get rid of this username from the payload, okay, now I have nothing ever to look up my account details with, right? I can't use the username at all right? But I do have the user ID, and the user can't change their ID. So I'm going to delete the username from my payload so that way I never have an incorrect username. And what I need to do here is I need to change, all right, from rec.user.username to rec.user.id. Okay, except is it called ID? It's called sub. Rec.user. Let's console log that, shall we? Okay. So I'm gonna log in. I don't remember what my username is. So I'm going to bring up my database so I can see my username is test3. Okay. So I'm gonna log in with my username. All right. And then I'm going to go to my account details, and here is my rec. All right, so let's try to find user. Let's do rec.user. All right, it does not have my user ID on it. So let's log out and let's try again. Creating access token sub should be equal to, so let's console log user. All right, so test3, and then I enter my password, submit. Okay, user dot ID. All right, so let's do that. All right, then so we're actually finding more bugs through this process. So that's actually good that we are thoroughly testing this. All right, submit. Okay, user 39. Let's go to the account details. And yeah, we have sub 39. Okay, so then we don't want ID, we want sub, which makes sense because we're saving it under the key sub. So here on the controller, we want to pass in sub. Okay. And then we want to go to this, and instead we are going to do ID is a number. And then we want to find users by ID, which doesn't exist. So we're going to make one, and then we're going to pass in the ID. All right, so let's go to then our users service, and we can just copy and paste, find user by ID. Username is going to become ID number, and then we're going to say find one by ID. All right, so now if I click refresh, all right, that doesn't seem angry at me. Let's go ahead and change my username to try to recreate the bug. All right, and then I refresh and I have no bug. It still will load because now it's using the ID that does not change. All right, so as you can tell, changing my account details now automatically works, which is exciting. All right, everything is changing. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and change it back to Callie Stosecup. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna change this back to Callie Stosecup, so if I can test my emails later, it'll send to the right email. Then we're gonna just do C Stosecup. Let's refresh the page to make sure that still worked, and it did. All right, and then I'm going to head back to my user story. All right, so I set the data correctly. I do have a success toast, and the only thing I have left to do in this user story is to add a catch block. Okay, so instead of ending it here, we are going to add dot catch, and then we are going to catch an error, and then we are going to, right now, I don't know what kind of errors I'm going to expect, so I'm going to console log my error on a catch, and then I'm going to do just some sort of general error toast. So I'm going to say error, there was an error, please review your values and try again. All right, so now we have a catch block, so that way we won't have a big red error flash. If there's an error, we'll have this error toast instead, and then we can console log our error. All right, we are now done with a user story. We have users can officially edit their account details. So I'm going to, we skipped right over in progress, and I'm going to move it to done. And the next time we come back, we will work on another user account maintenance user story. All right, bye guys.